Hello traders, good day. Once again, welcome to another segment of Santo Domingo National Trade School virtual class. I am Sir Juno Sungal, and I will be your guide and comrade as we journey the tapestry of cultures and languages in the Anglo-American Literature or English 9. This is the part 2 of the video lesson and our second episode for quarter 1. Last time, we were able to talk about the modals that express permission, obligation, and prohibition. Do you still remember what are these modal verbs? Correct. For modals that express permission, we have may, could, and can. For modals that express obligation, we have to, need to, must, should, and ought to. And lastly, for modals that express prohibition, we have must not, cannot, could not, should not, and may not. Today, we will be having a new lesson, but this time, we will focus on a literary piece from the Anglo-American literature. So, let us set our goals. Again, these goals or learning objectives are the skills that I expect you to develop at the end of our session. These will serve as your guide as you journey through our lesson. Here are our learning objectives. 1. Identify the meaning of unfamiliar words or expressions. 2. Determine the differences in the stages of a man's life. 3. Analyze the figures of speech and imagery used in the poem. And 4th, value one's roles in life by reflecting about the ways to strengthen them. Now, we are set with our goals. So what are you waiting for? Get your notes and your pen. And let's start with our video lesson.
Start with our topic. Let's trace back the history of English language in the Philippines. English language actually came from England, but we never learned about the British English because what we are using here in the Philippines is the American brand of English. As we all know, we were once a colony of the USA. In fact, volunteer American soldiers were the first teachers to our Filipino forefathers. And then, Thomasites came. These were 600 teachers from the US, brought by naval ship USS Thomas in 1901, who had the mission to educate Filipinos. And we owe them our education. Perhaps the reason to our colonial perspective and the explanation why English is our second language after our mother tongue and our vernaculars. Nevertheless, the influence of English language is globally encompassing. At this moment, after discussing the historical background of the English language in the Philippines, I want you to think of its relevance and relation to our topic. I want you to focus on the Thomasites and the volunteer American soldiers. How did they contribute to our learning of the English language? Correct. These people served as teachers to our Filipino forefathers. That's why English language and American culture in general have been part of our life and culture here in the Philippines. In other words, Thomasites and American soldiers played a vital role in the development of English language in the Philippines. Correct, you heard it right. Roles, because today we will be talking about our roles in life. We will learn that from the poem written by none other than the most celebrated writer of the English literature, none other than William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was born on April 26, 1564, in Stratford-upon-Avon in England. He is called the Bard and mostly favored by the monarchs because of the dramas he wrote, acted in, and produced. The lines in his plays are written like poetry, with rhythm and rhyme. Having said that, the literary piece that we will be dealing with today is also in a form of poetry. Actually, it is a part of a play written by William Shakespeare entitled As You Like It, in which a character named Jack who is living a life of exile, recited a speech. The poem, 7 Ages of Man, which happens to be our topic for today. But before we dig more into the poem, let us familiarize ourselves first with the words used by the author. Since William Shakespeare is the writer of the poem, there were Old English terminologies and words that were used, which do not exist in the kind of English that we are speaking now, which is the modern one. So for us to better understand the poem, let us try to translate or look for the equivalent of these English words to the modern English. I have here 7 lines which contain 7 Old English words or terminologies. What we are going to do is to identify these Old English terminologies and find for their equivalent in the modern English. First line is a schoolboy carrying his satchel on his way to school. The unfamiliar word there for the Old English terminology is satchel. Satchel is equivalent to school bag. The second line is he is as fierce as part. The unfamiliar word or Old English word there is part, which is equivalent to the modern English term leopard. The third line is he wears his pantaloons. The Old English terminology there is pantaloons, which is equivalent to pants. Number 4. His sharp spectacles gazed wisely on me. The Old English word there is spectacles. Spectacles is equivalent to eyeglasses in a modern English. Number 5 is his consciousness drifts his senses. The unfamiliar word there for the Old English terminology is the word sans. It means without. Number 6. A young man seeks the bubble reputation in the cannon's mouth. The Old English expression or terminology there is the bubble's reputation or bubble reputation, which means fleeting fame after war. And lastly, the old man is full of wise sauce to tell younger men. The unfamiliar word there is wise sauce, meaning old sayings. Aside from the Old English words and expressions used in the poem 7 Ages of Man, there were also some literary devices used by the author, and one of which is the figures of speech. It is better to have a review of these figures of speech because it will help us as we read the poem 7 Ages of Man. Here are some of the figures of speech used by the author that you might encounter in the poem. First is simile. Simile is the indirect comparison of two unlike objects. It uses the word like or as to compare these two objects. Example, he is as strong as an ox. The subject he is compared to an ox using the word as. Next figure of speech is metaphor. Metaphor is like simile. It also compares two unlike objects. However, unlike simile, it does not use the word like or as to compare. This is called direct comparison. You would only notice the use of linking verbs in comparing these two unlike objects. Example, education is the key to success. Education and key are the two unlike objects being compared in this metaphor. You will not see the use of the words like and as, but the use of the linking verb is. The next figure of speech is called repetition. Repetition happens when words or phrases are repeated a few times to make the idea clear and more memorable. For example, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. The last figure of speech is called onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is simply the mimicry of sound. The author uses onomatopoeia to suggest movement and action. Examples are the hissing of the snake and the buzzing of the bee. Now, I think you are already prepared and equipped to explore the poem. So, at this point, you may pause this video and learn about the 7 Ages of Man by William Shakespeare. If you have reached this point, I believe that you are already done reading the poem. And the next step in your reading process is to analyze it. So, please get your learning activity sheets as they will serve as your tools to interpret and analyze the meaning of the poem. You may start answering after this video. To wrap up our video lesson for today, let us always remember that whatever our role is or whatever we do, we should always put our heart in it and always ask the guidance of the Lord for us to perform it the best way that we can. It is indeed another amazing experience to meeting you in this platform, and I hope that you have learned something new today. Once again, I am Sir Junrus Cap, saying, learning has no boundaries. Always wash your hands and stay at home. Thank you.